Hey, I'm Ethan.
Hey, I'm Mike.
I watched the first half of Cathy's Curse.
I watched the second half of Cathy's Curse.
And this is the other half.
Spooktacular!
Knew it was coming.
You did.
I was still scared.
You did. You flinched.
I flinched.
You flinched. But
I didn't jump. I flinched.
Jump. You're right.
I flinched. I closed my eyes like if I know a scare actor is in a haunted maze,
It's like
they're going to pop out.
Like a blue wind in your face.
Yeah. The Spooktacular got in my eyes.
That was a curse. It was Cathy's curse.
Cathy's Curse.
It was Cathy's
so
curse.
on our 500th episode of all
is
time.
today the 500th episode?
Today is the 500th episode.
Oh, God.
We've decided to watch Cathy's Curse.
This is a recommendation.
A recommendation from Old School Zero in the Discord.
Yeah.
Great recommendations. Usually.
Yeah.
For our 500th episode,
we're watching
Cathy's Curse, which I think is what the people want.
I think that's what people want.
I think people want this.
People wanted to watch this movie.
People want us to watch
People don't want to watch
this
this movie. People want us to watch this
That's
movie.
the thing. They're like, Cathy's Curse. I've never heard of that, but it looks pretty bad.
Looks pretty bad. I think it was on an episode of like a Red Letter Media video. I think that's sort of how it got a bit of notoriety.
Oh.
Because I recognize the girl, like the scenes where the girl's being a creep, Cathy. I recognize Cathy being a creep. And I recognize the title, but I don't know anything about the actual film, other than that there's a girl named Cathy and she's cursed. But yeah, this is very much the other half, 300 episode vibes.
500.
Yeah. 500.
We don't even know what year we're on.
I know
what episode we're on. Mike and I, we just go into the grind. We just crank them out, you know.
Yeah, that's
crank
true.
out these
We're just
episodes.
cranking it out
We're
together.
like, what number is this? Doesn't matter.
Cares?
It doesn't matter.
We just added this on a whim, and now I'm just discovering it's the 500th episode of the other half. Well, let's just have a
little sip to that and to Cathy's Curse as we talk about a horror movie.
A horrible movie
from the 70s.
70s, yeah.
70s.
Yeah.
Boy, this is a fun film.
This movie wanted to be The Exorcist so bad.
Oh my god! It really, it's definitely like C grade. Like you turn in a paper to write The Exorcist, and it's the C grade version.
It's like half Exorcist, half like The Shining, a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's in your half of the movie. In my half of the movie, there's like snow everywhere, and the woman's not being taken seriously and all that stuff. But it's boy howdy. It's like we want a little girl that curses. Well. We got. Wait, does Cathy curse in your half of the movie?
No, not in my half.
Oh, okay, my half of the movie.
Well, I guess she does
wearing
a little
like
bit.
a sailor.
She guess she does a little bit.
But
man, the opening of this movie.
Tell me about it.
Strong shit.
Oh yeah,
strong shit. Movie immediately starts. No fucking credits. No fucking music. Nothing.
Yeah.
Just immediately a car driving up. Like nothing. Like I'm telling you, nothing. I've never seen a movie just start with like not even logos.
Nobody wants their name in the front.
They're just fucking raw dogging it.
Yeah.
They're just like, here is a car. It's driving up to a house. It drives up to the house. This man with a mustache comes out, and he goes to the top of the stairs of the house, and he has this little girl crying. And the little girl says, "Mom left, and she took George with her." To which the camera cuts over to what is clearly a different scene of this mustache man. It zooms in on his face, and he says,
"Your mother's a bitch. She'll pay for what she did to you."
Incredible. 50 seconds into the movie. Incredible shit.
Yeah.
Just this weird mustache man calling some lady we never met a bitch.
Yeah.
And then
saying it with such confidence.
Yeah. The line reading, mwah. The line reading in this whole movie is mwah. Like no, the direction is off the charts. They're just like vaguely like, I don't know, you seem upset, but also you got places to be. And he's like, all right, I'll do that.
Apparently the director of this movie, this is his first English language film. So that might explain some of the direction.
Sense. Yeah. Some of the delivery was like, okay.
Yes, that sounded beautiful.
Her mother is a bitch, and you know it. You know it. You've been betrayed by her many times. Well, now he gets in a car. He grabs his daughter and gets in the car. And leaves her. First off, I did not know George was a little boy.
I didn't know that either.
Well, George is the dad in the whole movie.
Yeah?
It took a while for me to figure that out.
Oh, okay. Because I knew George is the name of the husband.
George is the name of the husband. George is the mother.
Little boy?
Yeah, this little boy that was taken away by
whose
his
mother's
mom.
a bitch.
Whose mother's a bitch.
Yeah, okay.
So he then, the mustache dad, gets in a car, drives with his daughter, and the best music starts playing. It's like, it's like super fun. But then a fucking bunny appears, and he goes, And that she's like, don't hit the bunny. And then they swerve off the road. It goes into a ditch. The car catches on fire.
Holy shit.
It says Cathy's curse in big letters.
Yeah.
And the car slowly starts lighting up, and the dad is knocked out as this car slowly.
As a little boy?
No, the dad's knocked out.
Oh, okay.
And the daughter is like, help me, daddy, wake up, no. And then it's cut through credits, and you just see this flame get bigger and bigger as it burns. The dad, for sure. I thought the daughter got out. Pretty sure she also died, but they just didn't want to show a burning child
They don't
body.
want us, yeah.
And
that's how that's the weakest part of the movie.
They need to show. Yeah,
you need a confidence.
That's the thing. If you're gonna have a little girl curse, you gotta kill a kid.
You gotta kill a kid.
You gotta put a kid in the ground if you want him to start swearing.
90% of movies with child death are great films.
Well, the thing is, the child dies.
Yeah, we know this.
We need to fucking see it, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We gotta see that body.
That's
If you're gonna have a child sully their voice by saying swears,
right,
such as "bitch," then I want to see some dead kids.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
That's what I'm talking
All
about.
right, so we cut to what I took for a while for me to figure out, but it is the present day.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the problem with watching old movies is you're not sure. Like
that is a good point, because I did notice. I was like, "Damn, that's an old ass car." When they got in
Yeah.
the car that lit on fire, and I'm like, "Oh, that's because it was in the past, so it's an extra old car."
Right.
And now it's like, "Oh, it's the '70s." I'm like, these cars look old too.
also old. Yeah,
but
exactly.
not as old.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
they're riding on a penny farthing to get there.
I can't believe he crashed his Model T. Gosh golly, he's on the crank, trying to crank it up.
Yeah. That's right.
I'm sorry, my child. Your mother's a bitch and this car's a shit. Anyway, so we cut to present day. There's an old lady sweeping outside. Her name is Mrs. Gibbs, I learned later on.
Right.
And she says to this old man who pops out, "Oh, they'll be here any minute."
Old man named Paul? Is that his
I
name?
think his name might be Paul.
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah, he's in your half.
Yeah.
And he's like, isn't it the same? They lost their newborn baby like that. Setting up the
Yeah.
stakes.
The stakes,
or just
the
the characters.
the background.
The background of these characters, and I'm like, wait, because the last scene I saw was this little girl dying. I'm like, she was definitely not a newborn. She's definitely not a newborn. So I'm like, this must be someone new.
I mean, she's a newborn compared to the man talking.
Everyone's a newborn.
That man is so old.
That man's ancient. So then this mom and dad drive up.
Mm-hmm.
I believe their last name is Gimbels.
Gimbels.
The Gimbels. You got Cathy and George Gimble. Cathy is obviously the little girl.
Yes.
And then you got Vivian. who's
Vivian's
the mom.
Yes.
And
she's also a bitch.
Oh, I'll say that.
She's not a bitch. She's actually really nice.
Well, she's kind of weird, but I think
is
it's more,
she?
I think it might be more the acting that's weird. Less than the actual
okay.
character themselves. So they arrive and they're like, "Welcome to your home," and they're all like, "Ooh."
Why are they here? How did they just buy the place?
I think they are like either inheriting it or buying it or
okay.
something. I feel like it's an inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they greet him. The mom seems like weird. She's in the back seat first of all, like while driving. I guess to take care of Cathy, who's laying.
Cathy's
on her.
Cathy's
in the back seat as well,
Okay.
laying on her, and she's napping in the car. And she removes her blanket, and then it cuts to some random bed somewhere, and the blanket levitates and moves at the same time. And I'm
Did
like,
you get creeped out at all?
no, not at all. This movie's just weird.
You're right.
It's just weird vibes.
Yeah.
So they take a tour of the house. The dad is revealed. Oh, I used to live here. So I assume it's George, like the George mentioned earlier. And he's like, "Oh, everything's exactly the way it was." Oh, and then he says, "Oh, it's my first love." And he picks up a statue of a nude woman.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's a weird character trait. That he's just like, my first love is this little statue of a nude
remember
lady.
checking off to this.
That's what he's saying. But he's also, he was like, "I haven't been here since I was 4." And I'm like,
Ugh.
I
I
don't.
don't really want to imagine a 4-year-old.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think 4-year-olds do that.
No, I mean, I don't know. I didn't when I was.
I didn't. I was.
It was a different time back.
It was a different
in the
time.
70s.
Yeah, 70s are crazy.
Yeah.
I let this kid smoke cigarettes and jack off.
Curse. Yeah.
So then, he's like, "Wife, we can change anything you want. I have no attachment to this house. I've only been here. You know, I left
Since
when
I was 4 years old, and I fell in love.
My only attachment is that figurine," which he notes, and I'm like, "That's weird. Why
Yeah.
it's fucking a weird thing to say." Anyway, Cathy goes up to see her room, and Dad's like talking to his wife. He's like, "Yeah, man, you know, like, it's kind of nice that like Cathy seems to like really be taken to this place."
Mhm.
But Vivian's upset by that.
Why?
She's like, "Ugh, you keep bringing it up to her about her normal behavior because I had a panic attack and it's hereditary." I made a shrug like, what?
Yeah. Ethan was
It's
just like, can you
hereditary.
believe this? Yeah.
It's hereditary.
Yeah. I am your mother.
That's basically it. This walk's so hereditary can fly. Yeah. So
Ari's curse.
Ari's curse.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's like really like annoyed by him just being like she's acting normal.
She's just supporting her daughter and her well-being, you know.
Yeah, well, so is he. He's saying she's nice, and it's just like
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
it's very weird.
Yeah.
So mom brings down Cathy downstairs. They close the door in her room, and the camera like zooms into like I don't know how to describe it, like the bottom part of the door, and plays creepy music for a really long time. I really don't understand what the choice for that was.
Yeah.
But then at the breakfast table, Cathy's being fucking annoying. She won't stop singing. Jack and Jill went up the hill,
That is pretty annoying.
and in fact, the mom snaps at her, and in fact, because Dad's like, "Hey, is something wrong?" Is this kid's constantly just singing the same song over and over again?
Right.
And she's like, Mom's like, "There's someone watching me from the garden." He's like,
Oh no.
okay."
Having another panic attack.
So he goes out and he looks and he doesn't see anything. He's like, "All right, I'll go outside and take a look." And Cathy follows. And they find 3 kids are indeed like walked in their backyard and we're watching them.
Children? Yeah.
But then their mom comes and gets them. They like bring them inside. Like, I found these kids, but their mom, Margaret, comes in and gets them. I don't know if Margaret ever comes in.
I don't
later
ever
on.
see a Margaret.
Okay, what about her kids? They're named Geraldine, Walter, and Peter.
I never see another child.
Cool. I'm glad I wrote down their names. Well, that's world building for you, audience.
Yeah, there you go. You
They
got
got
it.
a little Geraldine.
I do
Walter,
see.
and
I'm
Peter.
sorry. I do see the kids at one other point, but it's for like 5 seconds.
Sure.
Yeah, not important.
Okay. Well, the mom's like, "Let's hang out tomorrow. Like, we'll have a little play date with our like." They seem to like Cathy, and that's cool. I'm like, okay. So, mom and Cathy are just randomly cleaning, but Cathy gets tired, and she's like, "I'm tired, mom." She's like, "Well, why don't you take a break, go take a nap?" So she goes upstairs and starts exploring like all the doors in this big house.
Right.
But the one door she goes through is the attic. And she starts exploring the attic. She finds like a fun violin. She finds like all sorts of like little trinkets and things. But she finds a doll. And she picks it up off the ground. Oh, no. Already scary, right?
It's a creepy doll.
Well, the doll has no eyes.
Yes, its eyes were like sewn shut, right?
And she's like, why don't you want to see anymore? I'm like, yeah, it was clearly a consensual thing. The doll really was like, I don't want to see anything.
Yeah.
But then she sees a picture. She looks up. She sees a picture of a little girl who looks very similar to her.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. With like dark hair,
I think.
Yeah.
And it has 2 eyes on the portrait. And I think it's like the eyes from the doll.
I like how you're like, there's a photo of a little girl and she has 2 eyes. I'm like, okay.
Well, it looks like doll eyes are stuck where her eyes are.
Oh, okay.
Let me be clear.
This is Ethan
It's not
describing
traditional
another
eye.
human being.
Yeah.
So he had 2 eyes and a nose and teeth.
And a mouth.
And a mouth.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah.
actually, I won't believe this. 2 ears. It's crazy. They like
It's
want to
amazing.
hear these days. It's nuts. Just like me.
Yeah.
So yeah, the mom goes up and like gets her out of the attic, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, that's so weird. Obviously, Cathy's shocked by this.
Oh, of course.
She says,
She's
"Get
like,
out."
there's a portrait of a girl with 2 eyes.
Yeah, she opens the attic, gets her out, and then like closes the door. She's like, this door's lock is weird. It needs to be oiled, or someone will get stuck in the attic.
Oh.
I can't imagine that that'll come into play, but it's like the most telegraphed thing.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, I was like, if this was a quarterback talking about their throw, they would get sacked like ages, like immediately.
We all know where this is going.
Yeah. Mom talks to Agatha, and
Agatha.
yeah, there's a new character, Agatha.
I love the yeah. Just introduce this character without.
It really does. Like,
Yeah.
so
Who is she?
okay, so the other mom comes by, Margaret and
Yeah.
Agatha come by, and the kids are playing outside, and Agatha is like, "This, hey, my name's Margaret. Here's my friend Agatha. She can talk to inanimate objects." She's like, "Yes, I love talking to inanimate objects. They tell you so many things in the world."
Hello, stapler.
That's
Hello,
basically
Mr.
it.
Toaster.
Yeah, they tell you so many things.
Yeah.
"Ooh, what kind of toast did you make today?"
She's like in a Nick Jr. cartoon. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Salt Shakers and Pepper
Pretty
Shakers.
much, she's Blue's Clues.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
See, because in my half, she's referred to as a psychic, which is a little bit more like
well, she does,
dignified.
She
than
does say that. But she
Yeah.
also is like, "But I'm a psychic who talks to inanimate objects."
objects. Oh, boy.
They say so many things, and they're like, "Oh, who like that picture frame up there?" And there's like a picture of Mustache Man. She brings down Mustache
one that
Man,
died?
the one that died. And she gives it to her, and she's like, "Oh, I'll do a little reading on this because I felt something from it." Meanwhile, Cathy's outside with these kids, and Cathy since her encounter with the weird picture in the doll,
Right.
she's making these kids repeat things
Like what?
like she's saying like, okay, kids, repeat after me.
Are we gonna look for Mummy? Are we gonna look for Mummy? Don't talk to me about your mummy. All women are bitches. Repeat. All women are bitches.
Oh no, she went down that side of YouTube.
Yeah, she went down
through
that
the
side.
YouTube rabbit hole. Yeah,
Those 2 eyes are just
Yeah.
premium subscriptions to YouTube with
Yeah,
subscriptions to the worst
the
channels.
worst stuff. Yeah.
Agatha started reading the picture, and then she starts screaming. And as she starts screaming and like shaking, she's like, "Ah, this picture's cursed!" She doesn't say that, but she's obviously.
Yeah, that's what she's referring to. Yeah,
She says it all with her acting.
she's such a good actor.
She's such a good actor.
Yeah, very subtle.
Very, very subtle. And it's cutting between the kids, and the kids keep saying things, and then Cathy pulls out like a nail and starts coming over to, I think, Geraldine. And Agatha throws the picture down, and the kids start screaming at the same time. They run outside, and they see Cathy did something apparently to stab Geraldine in the eye.
Oh my god!
But it was like all there was, not to like downplay child-on-child violence, but there was just a little tiny bit of blood underneath her eye.
It wasn't that big of a
like
deal.
she didn't hit the eye.
Yeah.
It was just like it was the most fake ass looking blood under someone's
The
eye.
blood in this movie looks fake as fuck.
It's so bad.
Continuously.
It took a while. I felt like the formula came out, to how to make good fake blood
Oh,
in like
eventually.
in like the 80s.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think everyone got that. Before then, it was like a crapshoot.
It looks like red paint.
It literally does look like
Yeah,
red paint. Like
yeah.
it's just
It looks like somebody spilled a smoothie all over the
Yeah,
place too.
it's
like
terrible.
thick and frothy.
it's awful.
Yeah, not good.
But anyway, this kid's bleeding, I guess. But yeah, so they're like, "Wow, we got to take these kids away. We don't
Gotta
want to
take
hang
the
out with
kids
you.
away.
We don't want to hang out with you anymore." Margaret says.
Yeah.
But then Agatha, fucking after screaming, throwing the picture, breaking it on the ground, calmly comes out and talks to
Cathy?
Vivian and Catherine. Not really Catherine, mostly Vivian. Says, "Hi, I hope I didn't scare you with all of that."
I mean, that's pretty upsetting.
It's pretty upsetting.
Did I tell you that I suffer from panic attacks?
Yeah. I hope I haven't scared you. It's just I felt so strong. Like I've never been able to like communicate with an object that easily before.
I've never actually been able to communicate with objects. I usually just say I do.
I usually just
To
fake it
seem
the whole
interesting.
time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she says that, and then she says, "Well, thanks for the coffee. Bye." And I'm like, the other person almost had their kid killed by another kid.
Yeah, but that's not as big a deal as her yelling at a picture frame.
Yeah, exactly. And we cut to Dad. He's fixing the statue. I didn't mention this, but when he grabbed the statue earlier, he's like, "My first love." He like breaks
Yeah.
the hand of it,
Uh-oh.
and so he has to fix it. So he's fixing it.
Okay. Do you know what he does for a living?
He does construction.
He works in construction, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he's like he feels like a manager of construction site.
He doesn't seem to actually be doing any like hard work.
No, I think
but he does have to be at the construction
I
site
think
the
he's
entire
he's
time.
a supervisor, I think.
Oh, okay.
He's, there's always those people who are like, I get the notes on what's going on, and I make the permits go, and blah blah blah.
Right.
Anyway, so they have a dog suddenly. I had no idea. His dog's first time this dog appears. His name's Sneaker.
Yeah.
The
Thing
dog
looks scary.
Dog's upset. It's a Doberman. It's cute. I like Dobermans.
Dobermans are big.
Dobermans are big.
Yeah.
I like
and
big dogs.
Cathy's a little girl.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. His name's Sneaker. It's a great name.
It is a cute dog, by the way.
But anyway, it seems upset.
Yeah. It's upset.
Seems upset. It's just barking.
It's also
randomly.
screaming.
But I guess it just barks at everything. That's what they're trying to establish.
Right.
So then Mom's like walking around the night, and then a hand comes out and grabs her. But it's Dad. He's just trying to be sexy in a creepy way.
Sure.
As
He's
dads
"I
from
work
the
in
70s do.
construction. I want you to dress like my first love.
Put on this hat.
Yeah.
This hard hat. It's not doing anything hard right now, baby. Feel my hands? Haven't done a day's labor in its life, but you know what? I work in construction.
Yeah, I'm gonna erect something.
I'm gonna wreck something.
That's what I said.
I thought you said I'm gonna wreck
I'm
something.
gonna say erect something.
I said I'm gonna wreck.
I'm gonna erect something.
I'm gonna wreck something. I'm
gonna
gonna
wreck
wreck it.
something.
I'm gonna wreck it.
We're gonna wreck it.
Yeah, like Wreck-It Ralph. Not Erect It Ralph.
Erected Ralph. It's a very different film.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Has that porn parody happened yet? Because they got to make it.
Oh God. Porn parodies of Disney movies. I don't want to see them. I don't want to know.
I'm
they
not telling you
exist.
to watch them. I'm just telling them to make it.
Yeah, you want to.
I want to know
see it, but you want to know. What
I want to know it
happened.
existed. You
Yeah,
know,
that's true.
I want to know it's out there.
What
like
a world that would be.
Like I want to know all those trees that fall and make sounds in the forest where no one's there.
Yes.
I want to know about them. I don't want to see them.
Yes, ancient monks, Tibetan monks are always thinking about porn parodies of Disney movies.
Luca, huh? Like just thinking about random movies.
Yeah.
Zootopia's obviously, right?
We already know where that one's going. Yeah.
Anyway, so where was I? I got distracted.
Really did.
Real distracted. Yeah, so they start making out. They're gonna do it on the bed, but then the dog's barking. She's like, "Is anything going on?" And the dad's like, "No, it's fine. The dog's just barking." And but cuts to Cathy banging her head on the pillow.
Holy
Like,
shit.
"Ah!" And then they're like, "Oh, I think Cathy's in trouble." So they get out there, and the mom goes, and she's just screaming, "I want my doll!" He's like, "Where's the doll?"
Kathy saying that?
Kathy's saying that.
Oh.
Cathy wants the doll. And so the mom's like, "Go get the doll." The dad gives it to her, and she seems fine.
Oh. That's all she wanted.
Next day, Mama and Dad leave, and Mrs. Gibbs is there in charge of the house watching Cathy. Cathy goes downstairs and decides to psychically zap the statue that Dad put together. She suddenly has psychic powers.
Oh, yeah.
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 She just zaps it. It just
How
explodes.
her psychic powers are just zapping it, like with energy?
It just goes and then explodes.
Okay.
There's no like effect.
Okay.
It's the 70s, man. What do you expect?
It's a cheap movie.
It's a cheap movie.
Yeah, they don't even have a blood budget.
You can't even get a blood
Yeah.
budget. Yeah, so zaps the statue, drops a plate on the ground. Oh, she's eating food with Mrs. Gibbs. She drops a plate on the ground. Mrs. Gibbs is like, I feel like she's the most pushover babysitter ever. Like she's like, "Oh, that's fine. You dropped it on the ground purposely. I'm going to pick it up." And she picks up 2 pieces of the porcelain on the ground and then says, "Oh, that's fine. All done. I'll clean
the
back
hell?
down." I'm like, "You fucking didn't do your job, girl. I'd be upset if I came back."
Gonna cut her fucking feet open. Yeah.
Anyway, and she's like, "All right, I'm going to give you a little kiss, Cathy." And she gives her a kiss. The cat's like, "Don't do that. Did my mom ever tell you I hate being kissed?" She's like, "Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just an old lady. I'm from the olden days." Sneaker sees Cathy doing jump rope and seems upset. Sneaker does not like Cathy at all.
Yeah, no. Not
Cathy,
at all. He can tell that she's cursed.
Yeah. She got possessed or something.
Yeah.
Cathy just stares at the doll and yells at Gibbs for holding the doll because Mrs. Gibbs has the doll. And she's like walking towards her. She's like, "You better put that doll down. This is my doll." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And then Cathy gets creepier and creepier. And she teleports the doll away from her with her mind.
Wow.
And then
So talented.
Cathy then starts to do what I described as bake Mrs. Gibbs' mind with the doll.
Uh-huh.
So much so that she starts walking backwards, and then she falls out of the back of the second story of the building.
Whoa.
And what's funny is the mom comes home this time and just sees her fall out of the house.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's nuts. That's so cool though.
It was pretty scary.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
pretty
It's
scary.
starting to get a little spooked.
I'm not getting spooked, but it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
So the cops interview the dad and are like, "How did you find out about this?" He's like, my daughter called me on the construction site." They interviewed the mom. The mom,
Catatonic, probably.
catatonic. Yeah, absolutely. She's laying on the bed, couch, like a psychiatrist, like almost like she's on a psychiatrist's couch.
Right.
And she's just like,
It wasn't until I got to the back of the house that I realized where the screaming was coming from. And I looked up at the window. I saw her fall. The dog was howling.
Oh.
it's the weirdest
like performance.
line reading I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And
they kept it because the director could not speak
he's like,
English.
"That sounds good." She seems distressed.
Yeah.
Dog was howling. She's like, "My poor baby was at the window.
Oh no.
Like she could have fallen next, or maybe she did it.
Oh, maybe she pushed her.
Maybe, which I mean, she did
Mhm.
psychically. Detectives go outside to interview the dog, and they're like, "You're always barking for no reason, huh?" The dog's like,
No, I've got a good reason to bark.
"No bark." But
Cathy
then,
is cursed.
she's like, the cop's like, "Hey, other cop, come here for a second." And the other cop starts walking towards the dog. And the dog barks at him, and he's like, interesting. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
What does that mean?
Does that mean that maybe he does bark at people? He doesn't
Not
bark at
everybody.
nothing. You
Yeah.
know, like he barks at people.
Hmm.
Sneaker's a good boy, I guess.
Yeah, Stinger's a good boy.
or girl, I don't remember. Dad is like, girl, you have to be very careful not to disturb Mummy. Mummy's sleeping. Cathy, by the way, loves Dad. Loves
yeah.
Dad at this point.
Yeah. They're the closest.
Hates Mom.
Yeah.
It's kind of the vibe we're getting.
I don't know why.
Well, I think it's because she's possessed by her brother. Or
her brother?
No. She's possessed by her dad's sister.
Oh,
so
okay.
I think that's probably why.
And her dad's sister liked her dad.
And her brother is the closest thing to Dad.
And they're incest.
Yeah, I don't know about that
Odd
part.
choice, yeah.
Oh, I don't know if that's where it goes.
I think that's where the movie's going.
Cursed Cathy.
Yeah.
So then Dad's like, little girl, it's okay. Dad hugs Dad and then has a creepy smile. Or Cathy hugs Dad. And has
Dad hugs Dad.
Dad hugs Dad. Cathy hugs Dad and has a creepy smile.
Self-love is important.
Self-love is very important.
Yeah.
But she has a creepy smile. It's very creepy.
Oh.
Dad is making scrambled eggs, is asking Cathy, where's this in the kitchen? She knows everything about the
She knows
kitchen.
where everything is.
Yeah. It's like she's been in this house forever.
Whoa, she's been trapped.
She then decides to bring the tray up to Mom, and then scary music starts happening, and it zooms in on the tray of food, and it begins to rot. And there are bugs all over the tray.
Oh my God.
It's very creepy.
That's very creepy.
But it's a very bad effect because she then walks in the door, and the food looks perfectly fine on the tray.
Mm-hmm. It's just a weird vision.
It's a weird vision. So she brings it in the room. She scares Mom by just standing there, and she's like, "Ah!" And Mom freaks out.
To be fair, Mom just saw somebody fall out of a second-story window
It's
right
true.
in front of
Yeah,
her. She's
totally.
probably a little bit jumpy.
It's a little jumpy, yeah. Then they leave to call the doctor because, Mom's having another episode. And then he's like, all right, well, why don't you go upstairs and kiss Mommy goodnight? And I'm like, I would not, if my wife was having a panic attack, my daughter was in the room, I'm not going to send her up to give her a kiss goodnight.
Yeah, I'd be like, let's give Mommy some space.
Give Mommy some space. She needs some space.
The husband's not a great guy.
No, he kind of sucks.
Yeah.
He's like an oblivious idiot.
Yeah.
Kathy starts crying in her room, and the doll's head spins around and looks at her.
Oh.
Very creepy. It keeps saying, poor Mommy. Kathy seems to have some regrets, I guess.
Well, she's trying to fight the possession that's coming over her.
Dad goes off to work. He says, be nice to Mommy. Which is like, why, she was just traumatized by this kid earlier. But, give her...
Well, he's got a job to do.
But man's got to work. Man's got to put food on the table.
He's got to, construct this building he's working on.
Construct this weird building.
Yeah.
Kathy just stares at Mom like a creep the whole time.
She does that.
The mom's like, Kathy, can you tell me where you were in your room while you were cleaning? And then Kathy just starts teleporting around the room.
What the fuck?
She starts disappearing and reappearing places, and then suddenly she makes the whole house shake like an earthquake.
Whoa!
And you can't.
And they're not even in California.
I know. I don't even know where they really are.
I think they're in London or something, right? That's why everyone's got or Europe, somewhere in Europe.
It feels like that.
Everyone has weird accents.
They do have weird accents. It does feel like.
I believe it was shot in Canada.
Yeah. That's like budget Europe.
Yeah, that's true.
So then, it's shaky. Be careful to tell what's going on. But at the top of the stairs, the next scene we see Mom being carried to the hospital.
What happened to her?
I don't fucking know. I bet an earthquake happened. Maybe not though. Maybe it was all in her head. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then so Daddy's like, hey, listen, Mom's in the hospital, so it'd be like 3 or 4 days before Mommy comes back to us. He's like, you got to go stay with your cousin. Kathy does not like that. She's like, I'll be good. I'll stay home. I'll be so good. And Dad, of course, is like,
all right.
We'll have Mr. Chris come by and stay.
Chris.
The guy with the
Paul?
Is it Paul?
Paul.
Okay. Stay by, and he will come over and watch you.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you act like a good girl for Paul. She's like, I promise I will. Paul appears. He's just like, he looks so like unqualified for this job of watching a child. He's just like, yep. Look, it's Sneaker.
Man.
Why don't you like Sneaker? She's a good dog.
Yeah.
Kathy's like, I hate... Sneaker's a girl because
there
Kathy says, I hate Sneaker because she's a woman. And Sneaker's like, I don't like you, Kathy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, maybe if you weren't a misogynistic person,
what the hell?
Maybe Sneaker would like you more.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the end of my half.
That's the end of your half because I come in and this old man Paul is confused that the dog doesn't like Kathy and the Kathy doesn't like the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, your dad will be home late. And I don't know who this old man is.
Yeah, he's just all right. To be fair, I don't really know who this old man is.
Apparently, he's like a gardener or something, like a groundskeeper.
Yeah, like Gibbs was kind of like Mrs. Gibbs is like a housekeeper, I guess, or something, and I guess he is like a gardener, sure.
But like, I'm like, who is this old man, and why is he being? At first, I was like, maybe he's her grandpa, but like clearly that's not the case. And then Agatha, an old lady, shows up, and she hears Paul laughing upstairs, and she sees Cathy sitting in Paul's lap. And Paul's like drunk. He's like drinking with Cathy sitting in his lap. And I'm like, in no world is this okay.
No.
This guy is practically a stranger, and this little girl is sitting in his lap while he's drinking whiskey from the bottle. Like
bad vibes all around.
Not a good vibe. I'm like, what movie am I walking in on? And what scene is this poor Agatha walking in on? So Cathy says that she doesn't like Agatha. And Paul's like, well, she doesn't like you, Agatha. And you're a bitch. And then Cathy says, yeah, you're a bitch.
Oh,
and
man. She gets along with him because he's misogynist.
Because they're both misogynists.
Yeah.
And then Cathy calls Agatha an old dried up whore.
Oh my God.
And worse. She calls her way worse. Stuff I don't want to repeat.
Okay.
She says Miss Gimbel's at the Nut House. So I don't know who Miss Gimbel is. But apparently Mrs. Gimbel's at the Nut House. It's Vivian.
Yeah.
And then Paul chases Agatha out of the house. Like he literally like chases her down the stairs and is just like, get out of here, you're crazy, you're late.
I don't understand why Agatha was here.
I don't know why
she's just like,
well, she's psychic, so maybe she could sense something
you're
wrong.
Right. She's like, that was it came so easily. I have to go back to this weird picture I smashed.
Yeah, exactly. So Paul is downstairs, and at first I thought so. I was like, oh, the curse on Cathy is like this old man. Like maybe he's like the one cursing her or something, you know? Like, because I don't know how important this guy's been in the movie so far, you know? So I'm like, oh, maybe like he's cursing her. Maybe he's like her imaginary friend or something. And then he goes downstairs after like chasing Agatha out of the house. And then he just he like goes into the kitchen. He just sits at the kitchen table and he like grabs a bottle of whiskey and he just empties the bottle into this cup and he just drinks the whole thing. And I'm like, oh, he doesn't seem happy. And then Cathy comes by with a full bottle of whiskey and like pours a glass for him and then leaves the bottle there for him to drink. And I'm like, oh, wait, I think Cathy's the one manipulating him.
Yeah.
So Cathy stares at Paul.
She know he has a problem, I guess, and is just like exploiting it.
Yeah, definitely using it. And then she freezes him with her mind.
Okay, yeah.
And then
I love these unexplained powers that just are like, she can do whatever. I don't know.
I was just taking it as it came. And he's frozen. And then she uses her mind to open up a drawer in like the kitchen cabinet. And the drawer is full of snakes and spiders.
Whoa.
And they start crawling all over him. And he's like shaking, but he can't move because he's frozen.
Being drunk. Oh, that's awful.
I know.
Being drunk. Also being frozen at the same time.
Yeah.
And having spiders and stuff crawl over you.
Spiders, snakes, rats.
I'm believing this Cathy is kind of mean, or at least the spirit
cursed.
of her is. Yeah.
And so he's shaking and shaking. And then finally she lets him go. And there's still just like a spider on his arm. And he just like.
Are they real spiders?
Yeah. Real everything. All over this old man. There's this one shot that lasts for a really long time. I'm going to say in the first half of the movie, I was like, this is a pretty solid A24 horror film. Like it's kind of like an interesting vibe. It kind of reminded me a bit of like the same vibe as like Long Legs. Like It feels like something that if they made it in modern day and the acting was like, or the direction was better, I think it could genuinely like creep people out. So yeah, it's just like, there's this one scene where like there's a snake and it's getting so fucking close to this actor's face, this old man's face. And the old man is so obviously like afraid of this fucking like snake you know coming for him, biting him, but he doesn't move, and it was like genuinely unnerving. And then the scene ends. So then a man arrives at the house. I'm assuming it's Dad, and my assumptions are correct. And he arrives home.
I just don't get why she wasn't homies with this guy. He was a misogynistic guy, chased off Agatha.
I don't know.
Like it seems like kind of sucks.
Maybe because I don't know. Maybe he's just easy to manipulate. You know,
maybe she's just having some fun. Kids are weird, right? Kids are just gonna do stuff.
I will say, like, you know, this movie's obviously trying to recreate like what The Exorcist was doing, right? It's like a little girl is possessed, and curses a lot. But in that movie, it's like the devil's like obviously trying to make everyone's life miserable, and like the real protagonist of the movie is Father Karras, who his like belief is being tested, his faith is being tested. Like that's the whole point of that movie. That's why like the devil's doing what the devil is doing. In this movie, I'm like, I don't really know what this like.
What's the little girl's goal here?
What is the
or like the
ghost's goal?
spirit?
Yeah, exactly. Like what is it trying to accomplish?
That's
you
why it's
know?
easy. Just use the fucking devil, because you just be like, that shit's he's bad. That's
Exactly.
all you need to do. He just needs a bad
He's an evil guy, and he's
But
making
this
everyone's
little-
life worse.
This little kid, like we have the intro of what happened. She burned in a fire from her dad.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's all we got.
I don't know
why
that
she's
doesn't
making
seem like a
everyone's life so
mad
bad.
vengeance. It's just like I'd feel bad, but
Because like at first I was like, oh well, maybe this little because it is eventually like her name's like Laura or something. Is the little girl from the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She is the one that's possessing Cathy, and I was like, oh maybe like we'll see Cathy's like demeanor changing as we realize like it's a different person. But like no, this is just straight up evil, crazy shit that she's doing to people. You know. So anyway, the dad arrives home, and sleeps in Cathy's bed to like comfort her. And Cathy is asleep, or is she? And she's in bed, and her eyes start glowing. And then we cut to the dog outside, Sparky, Skipper, Sharpay, Sneakers. And Sneakers is like really concerned and like whining and nervous. And the very next morning, dog dead, covered in blood. It's bleeding. And it's like no one knows what to make of it.
Okay, how's a dead dog look? Is it a real dead dog, or you think it's like a?
It's definitely a
fake
real dog.
Oh, it's a real dog
because you can see it
breathing.
Okay,
that's what I was wondering.
Dancing.
God,
but it's just covered in obvious
I love
red
when they
fake
try
blood.
using like real dogs, because it's like you can't get them to stop breathing.
No, they're not. They don't know what acting is.
No, they don't know what acting is.
Yeah.
Except that dog from.
Oh god, Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah, that dog can do anything.
That shit's fucking crazy.
That dog can do anything.
That dog should have won an award.
Sure, really.
This dog nowhere near. But you know, to be fair, the dog was being trained in French. So the dog is dead, and there's like the dad, and I want to say like a vet that comes by to take a look at the dog, and the dad is like, "Do you think someone poisoned the dog?" And I'm like, "The dog is covered in blood." What are you talking about?
Oh, might be poisoned.
Maybe poisoned.
Bled from its skin.
Apparently, the dog was also owned by Paul. It was Paul's dog. It wasn't the family's dog. Yeah.
Well, what the fuck was the dog doing there earlier then?
Paul is the groundskeeper. He works there. He lives there.
The dog's in it more than Paul, though.
That's
in
well,
my
not
half.
anymore.
Like Paul just disappears basically. He's at the very beginning and then he disappears. Okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's fair. So Cathy is playing with an old doll. I realize now it's the haunted doll. Paul sees her playing with the doll and tries to take the doll away from her. He wants to burn it. And Cathy's like, no, and she's like doing like keep away and going like, no, you can't get the thing. And it's like Paul's like old and drunk and like sliding around in the snow, and he just can't get it. And then he finally reaches out and grabs the doll, and just as he touches the doll, he like retracts his hand. His hand is now bleeding. There's just a big ass cut, in his like palm.
That weird ketchup all over him.
Yeah, it's like it looked like a big sore. Like I was like, what happened to his hand? And then all of a sudden, he just starts vomiting.
Okay.
And like, I'm not being fake here. This unnerved me to a weird degree.
Oh.
Seeing an old man, because it's also a wide shot, just seeing this old man, big beard, like vomit and bile all over his beard in the snow all by himself, sobbing, half drunk, bleeding. I'm like, something about it was deeply unnerving to me, and it just sort of felt like I should not be watching this. Like, it really was. This is the scene where I'm like, if this was in an A24 movie today, people would be like, this is fucking the scariest shit I've ever seen in my life. But because it's like enveloped in this really bad film,
yeah, it's true.
It's like no one's gonna remember.
So interesting. There's just like little bits of like we have this
genuine
scene.
like horror.
Yeah. Huh.
It was really like I was just taken aback by this scene. Like, damn, this poor old man.
It does sound really depressing.
It was, and it's like on a meta level too. It's like, what is this actor doing with his career? You know, at this point.
Oh no, Mike's thought too much about this.
A little bit too, but it just like seeing like for some reason just seeing this old man with a big white beard and just like
something about
vomit.
a big white beard getting dirty is very
in
disgusting.
The snow. Yeah, it was unnerving. It was gross.
Yeah,
So
the white and the juxtaposition of vomit.
Yeah,
is just
exactly.
Like, always kind of nasty.
So Agatha, who I learn is a medium, calls Vivian on the phone, and Vivian's like, "Oh, come by the house and we can talk." So
Is Vivian home now?
well, Agatha goes to the home and hears Vivian's voice, and Vivian's like, "I'm in the attic. Come to the attic."
Oh yeah.
So Vivian goes
Normal
to the
place.
attic.
Hey everyone, I'm just hanging out in my attic.
Yeah.
You know, every time.
Come on up to the
Mike,
attic.
I do that all the time when you come over. I'm like, I'm just hanging out in the attic.
Just come on in.
You want
And
to check
close
out
the door behind you.
check out my Pokemon cards I got up here?
I can't move. I want you to come to me.
Yeah, exactly.
So Agatha goes into the
Great
attic.
host. I'm a great host.
Great host. Agatha climbs into the attic, and of course it's a trap. Cathy is in there, and Agatha is spooked by visions and noises. She hears voices telling her to never speak of what she's seen. She sees an old crone mocking her, and it looks just like her, but old and like wrinkled and stuff. And then she runs out terrified, and Cathy's laughing. And it's at this moment where I'm just like, what was the point of this scene? Like, you know, like,
Yeah.
why did the ghost called Agatha on the phone to have her come to the house to tell her not to tell anyone of the things that she just saw because she came to that. Like, there's so much stuff here that I'm like, I don't understand what the ghost's like intentions are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Either way,
That's fair.
Um,
I still don't.
George and Vivian are out to dinner. Apparently, she is now out of the nut house.
Okay.
And Vivian's like, I want to go home. I wrote down, I'm guessing this is the mom and she's been released. So she's like, I want to go home. I want to see Cathy. So they drive home. She goes into the house, but she can't find Cathy. She's like, I don't know where Cathy is. But I'm like, she was in the house for like 10 seconds. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, this is a big fucking house. Like,
It's a big house.
Like-
There's multiple. There's a moment where Cathy went through like 4 different doors trying to find the attic.
yeah, like there's no way you've investigated every single
Yeah.
room and floor of this house and not found Cathy. But she's just like, Cathy's not here. I can't find her. So George is like, oh, I think she maybe is at Paul's. I'm going to go over there and pick her up. I'll be back in 5 minutes. I'm like,
Wait, I thought Paul's a crown keeper. I guess he just shows up.
he does have his own house
Okay.
on the grounds, but it's apparently a 5-minute drive away.
That's why I'm like, I don't think he has it on the grounds.
Yeah, which is, seemingly not on the grounds.
He
First
must
thing,
just drive over.
2, don't let Cathy go over to Paul's house unattended. Like, Paul is not allowed around Cathy anymore. I'm putting a hard, fast rule.
Well, you are, but as far
But
as they know,
they don't give a
he's,
shit.
He's a great babysitter.
So the dad drives off. The mom tries to get into the house, but all of the doors and windows start shutting dramatically on their own, right in front of her fucking face. And she and yeah, it was a little bit unnerving. And she's just like running around the house, and all the windows and doors start closing. And then we see a shot of Cathy in a window, and she's clearly screaming for help, but nobody can hear her. She's muted. And then this causes Vivian to faint. And then she wakes up. Her husband wakes her up outside of the house, and she's like, there's something wrong with this house. There's something wrong with Cathy. You have to protect her. Her husband's like, I don't give a shit. Fucking chill the fuck out,
Fuck
lady. She just doesn't believe her. And that night, the wife, this scene didn't even fucking matter. The wife discovers a bloody jacket, and then they're like, oh my God, a bloody jacket. And the husband like looks into the closet and realizes that the jacket is not covered in blood. It's covered in some kind of red tonic that his dad had.
Well, when your blood looks like tonic all the time in the movie anyway.
I know. I was just like, what is this scene even supposed to be doing? Like, is this supposed to explain? I don't know. It was fucking weird. So the next day, Cathy has visions, and she is like drawn to like a lake. And this is where I see the little kids. The little kids run to Cathy's house and tell Cathy's dad that Cathy has fallen in the lake and is drowning in the pond. And so her dad has to go and save her, pulls her out of the lake. And Cathy is brought home, but before she's arrived at, because I think she goes to like the doctor to make sure she's okay before she's brought home, because she might have drowned, taken in water. And
Yeah, you gotta double check.
So before she gets into the house, she starts crying. She's like, I don't want to. And this part was kind of sad, because it was just like, I think Cathy's probably the most lucid in this moment. She knows there's something wrong with the house, and she doesn't want to go into it. So her mom like picks Cathy up and tries to take her in the house, but then Cathy scratches her mom's face, like a big ass fucking scratch in her cheek. And her mom kind of overreacts. Her mom is just like, she scratched me on purpose. She scratched my face. That awful girl. Like really, really over the top. And the dad's like, hey, don't say that to Cathy.
Don't say it to Cathy, my precious child.
Yeah. So the wife says that there's something. Oh, wait, I already read that. Blah, 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 blah. What happened next? Oh, no, I didn't read that. It's just happening again. The wife says there's something wrong with the house. Her husband doesn't care and doesn't
Again,
listen
yeah.
to her, says that she's irrational.
My first love was in here.
This is, I think, the biggest problem with the movie. Is like the premise, it works, but like there's so many other scenes that it's just like you're repeating yourself.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like they're trying to extend. I mean, this is a short movie.
It's already a short movie. Yeah,
so
that's
they're really
true.
trying to extend out like the scenes, and I'm like, you really just don't need any of this.
You've got no material to work with.
No material.
So he goes to work. She has visions of leeches and blood in the tub, and so because of all this, the husband is like, calls Paul up. He's like, hey, Paul, I want you to look after Cathy and Vivian. And he's like, I want to make sure that everything is safe.
Can you imagine Paul being like, sure, I'm down to hang out more after getting fucking frozen and got with a bunch of spiders and stuff?
I know. I'm like, what is he getting out of this situation? But Paul says, he's like, I promise you, sir, I'm not drinking anymore. And I'm like, that's not your biggest problem, Paul.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
Yeah, exactly. So Cathy and Paul have dinner together, and Cathy's smiling smugly and evilly at Paul. And Paul's like really unnerved by this, and he's like, I'm going to go hang out with your mom. So he goes upstairs, and Vivian's like asleep in bed, and then suddenly
I can't believe Paul's in this movie for so long, considering how long Mrs. Gibson's movie for like a minute.
He's basically most of my half of the movie.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So he's hanging out with the wife, and then there's a call. Husband calls and is like, hey, how's my wife doing? And he's like, Paul's like, she's been sleeping. She's still asleep. She didn't wake up, since you left. He's like, okay, well, just keep me updated. I'm going to be home late. And then he hangs up the phone. And just as he hangs up the phone, Vivian wakes up, sits up in the bed. And she's like, leave my daughter alone. Leave her alone. And she's talking about the doll. She's like,
she possessed now?
I think she's starting to like, because she's like in this weird trance-like state of like awake and not awake. I think she's starting to slowly like pick up on the energy of the house, like be more like aware of it. So Paul is like unnerved by what the wife is doing, and so he goes to check in, see if Cathy's all right. And there's this scene. He leaves the room and he goes into the bedroom. He wants to get into Cathy's bedroom, but the door's like closed. And so the actor's trying to like break the door open, and they left this in the movie where he actually manages to shoulder the door open, and then the actor closes the door in front of him and continues to hit the door. And I'm like,
wait, what?
I saw this like 3 times.
You had to rewind it because you were probably just like, what the fuck?
Am I not reading this properly? But I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure the actor genuinely does open the door with his shoulder and then realizes, oh wait, I need to keep doing this. I can't open the door immediately. So he closes the door in front of him and he hits it with his shoulder again.
That's incredible.
You should look it up and make sure I'm not being mistaken here. So anyway, so that
There's
happens.
one thing I trust you. Is to know a goof in a movie.
Yeah. So he's what happens next? So then he ends up, they keep coming back to the mom, keep coming back to Paul, and eventually we see these feet on the ground. And at first I think it's the mom, but actually it's Cathy, and she's walking towards Paul. Paul's by the stairway, and Cathy starts using her mind power to zap him in the chest, and his chest just starts like bleeding.
Okay.
I think it's the same thing that happened to Mrs. Gibbs or whatever.
I mean, she didn't really get zapped as much. She was just kind of like pushed.
Who got zapped? Somebody got zapped. Remember somebody got zapped?
I think that like thing that statue got zapped.
Yeah, the statue. So I think this was happening to Paul. So Vivian like hears all the commotion and looks outside the window, the window near her bedroom, looks out in the front lawn, and she sees Cathy chasing Paul outside of the house. And the husband calls home to check in, but no one answers. And he's like, I need to go home. I got to make sure everything's okay. So Vivian walks downstairs, goes to the front lawn, and finds a dead and bloody, mangled Paul in the front yard.
No.
Paul is just
Finally
dead. His face has
dead.
been ripped off.
Oh.
Everything. He's worse for wear. And she goes and looks in Cathy's room. She opens up Cathy's room. And this, I think, was supposed to be like a scary reveal because like Cathy's face is supposed to look all like kind of like how in The Exorcist when you see like Reagan, her face is like all different and fucked up. But the makeup in this movie is not good, and she looks like the Thing from Fantastic Four. Like she just sort of looks like bricky and rocky,
yeah,
craggly, and so it's really bad makeup.
Like I want to scrape off some of that skin because it's like, oh, that's kind of rough. Girl, you need to moisturize.
That's what it looks like. She needs to moisturize, and she's like, my name is Laura, and then she attacks her mom, and then the husband arrives, and he hears the commotion inside the house and sees dead Paul on the ground. And then eventually the mom is able to wrestle the doll away from Cathy, and she rips the doll's eyes open, and that breaks. Cathy's
That's it. You just have to
curse.
break open those eyes.
Just have to break the eyes open. Cathy's perfectly fine and normal now, and she just says, "Mommy," and they can be a family again. And that's the end of the movie. The movie ends with a shot of the doll crying blood,
Wow.
and that's the end of the film.
That's a very quick resolution.
Very
it
quick.
feels like I thought there would be more of a time when she's like in Craggle form.
She was in Craggle form for I imagine it's probably just uncomfortable for the actor, so they probably were like trying to keep that makeup to a minimum.
It made that little girl do a lot.
I looked it up a bit. Apparently, the little girl who plays Cathy did not want to be an actor and only got into acting to like support her family.
Oh,
and this is the only movie she was ever in. And then after that, she completely was like retired. Like she never even wanted to be an actor. She just did it so that she could like get money for her family.
Wow.
Which is why I'm sort of like, honestly, Cathy's not the worst part of this movie. The worst part of this movie is probably like the direction, I guess.
I mean, the overall acting in the whole movie is kind of mid.
Yeah, that's
too
true.
bad.
That's true.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's fine.
It's a fun little movie.
I honestly like. I'd give it like 1.5 to 2 pumpkins. Personally, I didn't think it was that bad.
I think
of a
I'd give
movie.
it 2 pumpkins. I think it's a fun, goofy watch with like friends or something because there's so much like just bad directing and it's just a badly put together movie.
It's not funny. Like it's not really a funny movie.
It's not really funny.
But it is like kind of interesting to see a movie that just doesn't. It's just like. There's no real sense of momentum. Like there's no hiking up of the stakes, you know? It's like in The Exorcist, I need to keep comparing it to The Exorcist.
I mean, it's really trying to be The
that's
Exorcist.
what it's trying to do. It's like every scene feels like it's like escalating until the very end, you know? This movie is just sort of like, well, Cathy's cursed, and now everyone's just going to have to deal with that for another hour.
Yep.
You know? So it's, you know, it's fine. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's, you know... It's also not the best, and isn't that the best kind of movie for our 500th episode of The Other Half?
I think honestly, those are our favorite types of movies anyway. Like,
Yeah,
I had a good
that's
time
true.
talking about this movie with you because
thank you.
just weird shit just kept happening in this movie.
It's hard to describe.
It's hard to describe,
Yeah.
and it really boggles your mind that like, man, you could really anyone could just make a movie.
Back in the day,
Even in the 70s, 70s it was expensive.
Exactly.
Like
This
someone
is
spent a lot of money to like put this on film, edit
makeup,
it together.
Yeah,
and it's
editing
just
was
like,
a pain.
Yikes! Came out with
Sound.
this.
I know. Yeah.
Rough times.
Guys, did you ever make a film in the 70s? Email us, email@theotherhalfpodcast.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you want to listen, we're also on Threads and also on Discord. And if you want to listen to our previous episodes, you can find them on any podcatching app. And while you're there, please leave a 5-star rating and review. We will read into the show no matter what it says, even if you've been cursed by an evil doll.
Ooh, don't zap us through our computers. That'd be crazy.
That would be spooky.
I just love movies that have unspecific psychic powers. It's like, what do psychic powers do? Kind of everything.
Yeah.
Electrocute, push,
zap,
steal, teleport, kill dog.
Yeah, somehow.
Rip a guy's face open.
Yeah,
It's just kind of like, I don't know. It's evil. Who cares?
And how is it that this like little demon girl, like, because she's just a ghost girl. How is she able to do all this, you know?
Spite.
Yeah. Spite. Good night, everybody.